1045 The Team and 1045theteam.com. And now we are going to go out to the Leah line where we find ourselves. Alan Hahn, host of Hahn and Humpty, which you can hear on our station 1 to 3 weekdays. Alan, we were just talking about this. The Knicks don't want KP to play in the Olympics. Do they have any right to tell him that?
No, they don't, obviously. They don't control what he does in the offseason. I think it was more Kurt Rambis saying that he prefer that he spends his time at the Knicks facility, even though, again, he doesn't have to by the CBA rules. He has the summer to himself. But it's just, I think, and it's something that Rambis said, which has been said a lot about athletes in general, is that a lot of times players play too much and they need to, sometimes take time off from actually playing. He certainly needs to weight train. He needs to probably gain some weight, especially in his lower body, get strength in his lower body. And you can't do that if you're also playing. So I think that's what it is. It's because he's 20. It's obvious he's going to need a full off season of weight training to get his lower body stronger. That they're afraid that if he spends, this tournament that he's playing for Latvia, that just to qualify for the Olympics would start in July, which means he'd have to go sometime in June to start training with the team. So you get 2 weeks in July, and if they are, which I think is a long shot, but even if they did qualify for the Olympics, you're talking about 2 more weeks in August. And training camp starts in October, so it doesn't leave a lot of time for him to, A, rest, and B, put in, whatever. It's usually 6 weeks solid of weight training before you start to see a real difference. And they want him to put on some weight and get some lower body strength. So you can understand both sides of it, but no, they don't have a right to tell him whether or not he can or can't play.
Alan, you should have seen the fist pumps and all crazy Brady was going because you agreed with him. But I also wonder if it's because right here in Albany, in the capital region, this is the home of Jimmer Fredette. I wish I could have had a poll of what people thought about Kurt Rambis and then what happened when he didn't play Jimmer and how unpopular he got in Albany. Is that unpopular feeling also in New York City for what he's done with the Knicks?
Yeah, I can't believe they gave him the 10-day, and then just, he played spot minutes, and the way it all ended, too, was so sad, and Myers Leonard acting up the way he did. On the postgame on MSG, I absolutely killed Myers Leonard for doing that because, Wally Zerbiak was sitting next to me, and he's like, hey, I don't care that the game was a blowout. There's only 2 seconds left. He's like, if I'm in a game, my object is to score, and I'm trying to get points. He's like, this kid's trying to make it in the NBA. He's trying to get people to notice him. Every opportunity he gets to score, he should. So I had no problem with what Jimmer did there at the end of that game. But I did have a problem with the fact that they gave him a 10-day and then they hardly played him. They really didn't give him a chance. And that's kind of frustrating, especially with a team that's not winning. And B, oh, by the way, needs guards who can score. And he can do that. So I felt terrible about it. I've always been a big fan of Jimmer's since he came here for a pre-draft workout and I sat down and talked to him. So I'm hoping he gets another opportunity. But I give him a lot of credit for going back to Westchester after all that.
1045 The Team, 1045theteam.com. On the phone, Alan Hahn of Hahn and Humpty, which you can hear right here on this station 1 to 3 weekdays right before us. Alan, Alex Rodriguez announces he's retiring after the 2017 season. Do you buy that is in cement, or if A-Rod is on the cusp of the all-time home run record, you think he'll try to hang on for another year to try to break that record?
Boy, he'd have to get 100. What is he? He's less than 100 runs away.
75.
Is he away from Bond? So that he'd have to have 2 amazing seasons. I heard Michael Kay down here in New York talking about it, and that's what they were saying. That if he's still playing at a high level, he's hitting at a high level. Rick DiPietro, my partner on our show, he calls the DH. It's like Florida. It's where everybody goes to retire. So for A-Rod, it's a perfect place for him to be because if he could still hit, he's still valuable to somebody. I wonder why he said what he said today about how he'll walk away at 2017. Maybe it's to start up the A-Rod farewell tour. For Jeter, it was 1 full year. Maybe for A-Rod, it'll be 2.
Well, he's not going to be embraced like Jeter or even Big Poppy will on this retirement tour. Do you think in 2017 when we get there, venues, stadiums are going to honor Alex Rodriguez pregame?
I don't know. I mean, where do you rank him among the all-time greats in his era? I mean, just as a player himself, and what he symbolized for many years was obviously the PED use, but he's also an amazing hitter, and he was a great player. So, look, if Ortiz thinks he's going to get an ovation from the Yankee Stadium crowd, well, if that's going to happen, then A-Rod should be able to get an ovation from Fenway, and they love to cheer A-Rod in Fenway.
Wow. 1045 The Team, 1045theteam.com. Alan Hahn of Hahn and Humpty on the phone with us. Sticking with the Yankees, Who's the most important Yankee position player this year? I think we all agree the pitching staff is the biggest question, but position player-wise, who's the most important Yankee?
Jacoby Ellsbury. He's got to stay healthy, obviously. I mean, that's that's the Captain Obvious statement of the day. He's got to stay healthy, but when he was last year, he and Brett Gardner were such great catalysts at the 1-2 hole to get the offense going, and that's when the Yankees were playing their best. When those two guys were healthy, their offense was just outstanding. So if you're going by position player, he's also important, obviously, in the outfield. They need him for what he can do defensively, but they spent a ton of money on him. The injury really derailed his season last year. Injuries have always been an issue for him. He could stay healthy. I think he's a very, very... I could say Teixeira, too. I mean, obviously, he's another guy with the bat, and when he was healthy last year, and he's in the contract year, so you know that he's going to want to stay healthy this time around. But I still say Ellsbury, to me, is such a catalyst because, obviously, at the leadoff position, what he can do for this offense.
Alan, moving to the NFL, the Giants addressed a lot of needs in free agency, getting Vernon and Janoris Jenkins and Damon Harrison. Have they done enough in free agency to you? What else should they be addressing here?
The secondary. They've got to still do more in the secondary. First of all, linebacker core is still very shallow, and maybe they'll address that in the draft. And I still think, even though they did make the addition at cornerback with Jenkins, they do obviously have DRC, they still need safeties. I think they've got to get better at that position. They've got to get deeper at that position. And so I think if they've got to look there first and foremost. They're probably going to look on the offensive line as well. But defensively, if we're just sticking there, I think their front four is very good and has great potential. But linebacking core is still obviously very thin, and they've got to look at that area. So it could be in the draft. You never know.
Alan Hahn of Hahn and Humpty, which you can hear weekdays on our station from 1 to 3 right here on 104.5 The Team and 104.5theteam.com.
Alan, we've been watching one of your pals there, Wally Zerbiak, on the coverage of NCAA's March Madness, but I've been watching this commercial with you and Wally about the MSG Go app, and I see you're a pretty tall guy, and I know you played some hoops back in your day for the great LIU Post. If we got a basketball right now, we rolled it out, it's you and Zerbiak one-on-one, game to 11. What's the final score? We're counting by ones.
All right, if it's full court, I win easy because he can't run. If it's half court, I get destroyed because he can shoot over me, and he's a much better shooter than I am. So I'm saying half court's 11-0 Wally, and full court, I think I'd have a shot at least coming close.
All right. Well, I have an issue with Wally, and you can tell him this tomorrow because I think you guys are hanging out. You're promoting the Sweet Package up at the Garden.
Oh, yeah.
Now, one of my good friends lives in Huntington, and he works out at the same gym as Wally. All right. And if he doesn't believe me, it's the New York Sports Club in Huntington. That's where
you know what? That's where I am right now.
Oh, you are there right now. Look at that, a free promotion for that club. So Wally has been spotted in there before working out with a visor, a golf shirt, khaki shorts, and sunglasses.
Now you want to understand why? I know it sounds like a hilarious picture, doesn't it? And you got to tell your buddy the next time to take the picture and then put it on social media so I can see it, because I'd love to be able to put that in his face. You know what he does? Because again, with all the injuries that he dealt with at the end of his career, his NBA career, his knee and especially it's really been his knee. He has to, when he goes to play golf, he goes and loosens up. Otherwise, he can't really play.
Yes.
So he'll go and get a workout in. So he's dressed for golf, but he shows up in the gym, does a few things to get the muscles firing, get the core, engaged, and then he can go out on the course. Believe it or not, there's a method to his madness, and that's what he does. So that's how dedicated he is, and we should all have that much free time, right?
It's amazing because it looks like you actually hacked my cell phone. Right underneath that text message says, there's Zerbiak working on his golf swing in the ab section. My friend actually said that too, so I'm going to make sure next time he's working on that golf swing and he's wearing khaki shorts on the elliptical, we're going to get a picture. He definitely does that.
That's got to be a good life. You got to get me a picture of that because I'll never let him live that one down.
Hahn, we got one last question for you, and it's always my job to play bad cop and rein it back in, but we were having this talk yesterday. You're in the heart of New York City. Yankees or Mets town right now today?
It's a great question. I don't think it's claimed yet. How about that? I honestly don't, because I do think there's so much passion for the Yankees, and I don't think Yankee fans are ready to give up the town yet. And I'll tell you what, the Mets didn't win the World Series. They got there, but they didn't win it. And so I think they have to win it for them to kind of claim that it's their town. But I'll tell you what, they're making a pretty good claim for it, and they could, for the next couple of years, be a great team. So Brian Cashman in this new Yankee way that I keep hearing about, he's got to get on the ball because if they want to be competitive with the Mets and their pitching staff that they have, they're going to have to get younger and also get some pitching themselves. So I don't think anybody owns it yet, but I'll tell you what, just sometime this season I think we'll figure out if the Mets can take it over. By the way, I don't know if you guys heard, but on the show, Rick and I have a bet, because he's a Mets fan, I'm a Yankees fan. So I said to him, because he's very confident in his team, he thinks they're going to be great. And I said, okay, tell you what, if the Mets end up having more wins than the Yankees, then I'll get a Mets tattoo of his choosing. And if the Yankees end up with more wins, then he has to get a Yankee tattoo of my choosing. So that's where we are right now, and it's on.
I think you're going to end up with a Thor tattoo by the end of it. I'm sorry.
It's going to be Humpty's face on his body in like a Mets gear.
I don't know. I'm holding out hope that the Mets just go ahead and go on Metsin.
Alan Hahn of Hahn and Humpty with us, 104.5 The Team, 104.5theteam.com. Hahn, thanks for the insight. We'll listen to you again tomorrow. Thanks for being with us.
You got it, boys. Take care.